My friend, the days are long, but the years are short. Your role matters as a father. It's critical. It's critical, my friend, and you don't hear it enough, but thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up for your family. Thank you for loving them well. It is work. It is a grind, and it is worth every second of it. 3 nuggets that hit me from my conversation with my friend Russell today are: 1, model your faith to your family and how to do that. What does that look like? Number 2, how to connect with your daughters. You got teenage daughters. How can you connect with them? And number 3, what does it look like to be committed to connection? How can you lean into being committed to connection with your family? Welcome to Fatherhood Field Notes podcast, where I interview truly remarkable, incredible men, fathers, gaining wisdom from their stories for you and I to grow in our own craft of fatherhood. I'm your guide, Ned Shout, father to 5 kiddos, currently ages 13 to 19, and husband to my rad wife, Sarah, working on our 21st year of marriage. So yes, my friends, I'm in the thick of it with you, and I am working daily to rebel against the low expectations for fathers and create a world where fathers know who they are as they show up for their families. You and I have the greatest opportunity to impact our world through the way we embrace our fatherhood role. This episode is brought to you by the Adventure of Fatherhood, helping men discover their powerful fatherhood role and build their fatherhood skills. The role of the father is to serve, guide, steward, protect, and of course, find joy and have fun in the messiness of it all. Today's guest is my new friend, Russell Kimura. He is a husband, girl dad of 3, and the creator of Fathers with Daughters, a coaching and community movement helping men show up with intention for the daughters they love. Russell's passion comes from his own journey of learning to slow down, listen more, and lead with presence and faith. Today, he is equipping dads to build deeper connection, emotional safety, and lasting legacy with their families. We had an incredible conversation today, so rich you will walk away inspired and equipped. Enjoy meeting my friend, Russell. All right, friends, I got a feeling this is going to be the best part of my day, hanging out with Russell, talking fatherhood. Russell, welcome to the podcast. How you feeling today?
Great, Ned. Super glad to be here with you.
Yeah, dude, we're going to have a good time. Okay, first question right out the gate. How old do you find yourself today?
How old am I? I'm 43.
43. How old do you feel?
I feel 30. 30?
30, okay.
I forget how old I am, but I feel like I'm in my 30s.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you find yourself in business and in life, like, do you have people you're working with that are like 5, 10, 15 years ahead of you? 50s, 60s?
Yeah.
The last year, 2 years. Okay, so coming into my 40s, I felt like, dude, 40's old. But I would say that over the last couple of years, like, I find myself working with people like in their 50s and 60s, and it's like, dude, they're so youthful and they have so much energy. And I'm like, dude, I'm actually kind of young in this whole game of, especially when it comes to business. I'm like, I'm actually young, got a lot of time to play around here. So I'm feeling pretty good myself. Although I will say, a little achy sometimes in the ankles when I get up in the morning.
Yeah. I hear you. Same way. Same. I feel that, and it sounds old, and then I forget. Like my wife was talking about us, our ages in a couple years from now, and I was like, are we? I keep forgetting I'm in my 40s, so it's funny.
Yeah. Do you have like a regimen that you do, fitness or nutrition or anything that helps keep you feeling good?
I have a routine, morning routine, intermittent fast.
Okay.
I've been doing that for a couple years now. I have a matcha, cacao, turmeric, black pepper mix that I do every
delicious.
morning. It's not as delicious, but it's healthy. My girl's like, it's like the dirt tea because it's this dark green because you have matcha and you have cacao, which has a lot of antioxidants. Then I put the turmeric in. Oh, I do cinnamon. So it's cacao, matcha, turmeric, black pepper, and cinnamon. Just mix it all up with hot water and maybe a little bit almond milk. And I just drink that. And then I usually don't eat until probably 12 or 1 o'clock, potentially, depending on my day. I don't get hungry. So I work out fasted usually. I do workouts in the morning 3-4 times a week. And that consists of some kind of cardio, some kind of lifting. And I do sauna and cold plunge maybe 3 or 4 times a week as well.
Oh, dang. Nice.
Just to keep my body and my mind. And then my friends have a great Christ Tribe meditation channel and app. And so I do meditation in the morning, and I just, guided meditations, but it's pretty powerful. So I like just kind of pausing.
So what's this app? Christ Tribe?
Christ Tribe meditation or something like that on YouTube. And then they have an app that I subscribe to as well, but you can get all the free, and their YouTube is growing, which is really cool. Because it's a good space.
Yeah.
It's a good space. And I was like, we need that. And she'll do scripture. She'll walk us through different things, or just affirming biblical truths within meditation, and she has a very calming voice, right? And I was like, I've been walking with them since they launched a long time ago, and just trying to help them grow, and it's been awesome to see their growth, and I feel like they're right at that. They're
Yeah.
gonna, you know, so
Yeah,
it's
dude, I'll
pretty
check it
cool.
out. So I don't do it every day, but there's this Lectio 365 app, and they'll have like a
Okay.
morning, middle of the day, and evening,
Mhm.
kind of like like it's like prayer reading. So I'll do that,
Mhm.
especially if the day feels funky. And I do find a ton of value in that. And one of my team members for our employee benefits agency, she had done like the Calm app. Like she's on like day
Mhm.
765 right now or
Sure.
something wild. And so now she has implemented, we have a daily huddle at 9:30 Pacific every day. And so now Wednesdays is like reset Wednesdays. And it's only been
Mhm.
a month, and she has come up with these meditations and brought some scripture in and stuff. And dude, I
Nice.
literally look forward to that 10-minute call with our team. There's like 20 people on the call, and it's rad.
Yeah.
Find a lot of value in that. So we'll
Beautiful.
have to put the link to the one you mentioned in there. So we'll check it out.
Yeah, Christ Tribe. Definitely check
Christ
it out.
Tribe. Okay. How many years have you been married?
I'm going on 20 years June
Yeah.
next year.
Heck yeah,
So I
bro.
guess 19 and a half, 19 and a
Okay.
half ish.
That's
Mhm.
incredible, dude. 20 years. That's a long time.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
So if a dude's listening to this right now and he's like, I'm at the 10-year mark and this just feels, ugh, I can't even imagine. What are a couple of things that you'd say that have been beneficial to you and your wife, just growing together, finding peace together, having unity, harmony, etc.? Obviously, it's not like that every day, probably, but what
Right.
would you say, like, implement or think about these things as you're thinking about the next decade?
Yeah, continue to build consistent rhythms in your life that fold your marriage into it. And what I mean
Mm,
by that is, we've done weekly dates since the time I can ever remember.
hmm,
And it's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when. And it can be as small as like a coffee, let's go on a hike, to the fancy dinners. But it's, if you don't have it kind of as a regular habit, so what I'm saying is fold it into what you do.
mm,
And if you're like 10 years and you haven't done it, start now. But if you have done it sporadically, start now.
hmm.
And it's like at the bare minimum, you have 4 a month that you are doing every week. And you just look at your schedules, just like you schedule in all of your kids' practices and going to church or the different things that, I mean, some guys don't miss a game. They're always on
Ooh, that's
their
heavy.
team.
Yeah.
They'll see their team on Sundays every season. But it's like, okay, that's not even a question. It's just
Mm,
I'm gonna watch the game. Dad,
hmm.
no, kids are like, Dad's gonna watch the game. So my girls know that, oh, mom, and dad are going on a date. They just know it's not a thing where it's like, are you guys going on a date this week? I mean, because it's been so regular
Mm,
into our lifestyle. And so I think just that consistency is one of my superpowers. I just find things I lock
mm,
in and I'll just stay consistent with it. So I would encourage men who are maybe in that and they haven't been as consistent. These are one of the things in terms of like overall health of your marriage is consistency in these practices, habits, and it speaks to your marriage, but also speaks to your spouse. We're like, oh, really busy, but yet having enough time for me at least once a week. And I think
yeah.
that's really important.
Dude, so we're going on 21. We got married in 2004. So yeah, 21 years.
Mhm.
And I will tell you that, like, right now in this season, not too consistent with that. So even that
Mhm.
statement, I'm like, okay, we're going to go tonight. I'm going to make the old college effort and just ask if she has the availability. If not, maybe tomorrow or
Right.
Saturday. But the point is
Yep.
making that a priority. And I think I'm not really a big sports guy, but I know that
Mhm.
when you said that, I think that it really locked it in for me. And I think guys listening, like, oh yeah, like I see the game every Sunday, or even the guys who are like, I've never missed one of my kids' games as
Right.
much as possible, right? Like, yeah. So could I do that with my wife? And truthfully, the benefit isn't just for you and your wife and your marriage and longevity, but it's also such a gift to your kids. Like, your girls are seeing that this is what a normal family looks like. This is what dads do. Okay, Brad, with that in mind, how many kiddos do you have and what's the age spread?
Yeah, true girl dad. I have three girls. So I have a 13-year-old who's my youngest, Belle Faith. And then Lily Grace just turned 15 this November. And then Ava Joy is turning 17 in a week and a half. So it's
Nice.
basically 13, 15, 17, three girls.
Love it, dude. Such a good spread. So, as a girl dad, I mean, I think about the connection I have with my girl. So, right, I've got four girls and a boy, and you've got like these very unique relationships with each one in a sense. What's something you would share that you're like, this has been so important to me in making sure that I'm kind of connecting with each one of them in the way that they want to be connected with, if you will.
They're all different.
Mm-hmm.
Like people think, oh, you have 3 girls, so it should be the same, and that's not the case at all. But it's making intentional choices, and it's what I'm trying to do with Fathers with Daughters is help men make intentional choices and habits to connect individually with their kids, but in our case, daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And they all connect differently. But if we look at the seasons, I did take them on one-on-one dates and do the different
Mm-hmm.
things. I would find different ways to connect with them, whether it was through dance or when they were in dance heavily, or drive them or do different things. But it's a matter of meeting them where they're at, and I just try to find ways to communicate with them on a regular basis of kind of getting in their world, because their world's constantly changing. Obviously, in teenage years, there's a lot going on, and even into preteen years, there's a lot going on. And so I never just kind of took one way and just did it all the time, because it never works that way.
Mm-hmm.
And if we think, oh, this used to work, how come it's not working? Well, because they're changing, I'm
Mm-hmm.
changing, the world's changing. So I guess just short or long answer is that the intentionality of what it looks like is going to change, but the intentionality that I'm going to do is similar to the date thing with my wife, is showing up, and we're going to stay connected. And I'm all about that connection. And I notice sometimes it's not as connected
Mm-hmm.
at times. So then I will recognize that and say, hey, I feel like we're not as connected. What you want to go? Let's go do a hike, or we should go do for a walk or run or something where we can just get reconnected in this season. And I think that's helpful. So it's kind of like a connection gauge,
Mm-hmm.
is where fathers, if you thought through your relationships with your kids, like where are you at? And can you say that there's a decent connection there? And can you even gauge that? Like, do you even know?
Mm.
Could you say 6 weeks ago, 6 months ago, we were at this level and now we're here? Good or bad, better or worse. But if you don't even have a gauge, then you have no reference point, and then it's just you're just going to keep doing what you're going to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so a couple thoughts come to mind. I want to ask your opinion. So one, I love you asked this question, or you made a statement that you would go to a daughter, it sounded like, and say, "Hey, I don't feel that connected to you. Let's go on a hike this Saturday morning," or whatever. So
Mhm.
there's a vulnerability there to go and say, "Hey, I don't feel that connected to you." And it wasn't coming across like it was anything that they had done. It was a you feeling like, I want to be connected to you. You weren't putting it on them. You were really coming to them saying, "Hey, I want to know you. I want to be friends with you. Can we do something?" So highly encourage dads to do that. And then the other piece to that is, dads, I would almost just like in a little journal or your notes app or something, just put down how connected to you feel, like 1 out of 10 to your daughters, your sons, your wife, and then maybe put a follow up in 6 months or 3 months and think, okay, if you're at a 5 or a 6, what can you do? Like, make that your one thing, your goal. What can you do to move that up to a 7 or an 8 or a 9 or whatever? So that's the stuff we should be measuring, right? So,
Right.
Russell, in your opinion, if a dad's like, man, I just feel like, dude, I've got my daughter is 15. We'll just go in the middle of the road for you. She's 15. And man, when she was 8, we were just so tight and it's just slowly slipped. And now it's like we're not connected. What are a couple things you tell them to do? I mean, obviously, go ask her, say, let's hang out. But any other things you would suggest to him to kind of get that relationship better?
The teenage years are a delicate dance. Sometimes you're like, how come I try and then they pull away? And other times
Mm,
it's hitting, and I think one thing I try to encourage the fathers that I coach is try to disconnect your ego, because
mm,
when we are like coming with like, even if I bring you a strategy and you try to do it and it doesn't work, again, it's like we feel affected. Oh, I'm not a good dad, or this is
mhm,
failing. At least for me, those are the things that I sense sometimes. So, but if I can come open handed and say, hey, I don't know, but all I do know is the end goal is my actions versus over time is going to
mhm,
hopefully produce results. Like kind of we talk our kids, like we don't want to go after the end result trophy. We want to go after the process that it helped you get there, but we
mm,
want to focus on just doing the actions to get there. So similarly, what I would tell the dad is don't go after the thing that you think is going to make you connected to her. Go after building the habits that will eventually get you connected to her. So she might not feel connected right now, and you might not feel connected as she's 15, but you start somewhere. And maybe it's just small little things. And you have to be, it's almost like a game with teenagers,
yeah,
because they're sensitive and, oh, I don't know how to push, pull. What am I doing here? But you got to stick in it and don't be like, oh, see, and just like reconfirm the fact
mm,
that you're not connected and it's hard. You got to commit. Like, so I would say first and foremost, commit. Like, are you committed to being connected with your daughter? And if so, just like if you're like, I want to lose weight, and it's like, well, you did 2 things and you're not seeing results, so you give up, you're not really committed to losing weight, because it's going to take time, and it's going to take consistency, and it's going to take you trying different things, different, nutrition things, different maybe exercises that you find that work for you. Similarly with your daughter, if you're looking at, I'm committed to connection, and I haven't been, and that's where it's gone this far. And I know I need to kind of work into that. And it's going to take some consistent habits, and it's going to be different for every dad. So I can't really give you a formula, but what I can do is give you some methodology of get committed, look at those little things, and then just try, test. Just like in business, we just try, we test, see what works. Hey, that hit for a little bit. Don't think that's always going to work, because next week it could be completely different, but just try and be committed.
Okay, so beautiful. So I think that this idea of I'm committed to connection, I think is just incredible. Like, I'm going to die on this hill. I'm committed to connection with my kids. Yep. And it's funny because I think sometimes, like, you made the perfect kind of face, like, well, I tried and I struck out, so forget it. Or it's confirming that they don't care about me. But I would maybe have men think about this, because I'm 42, so same spot. There's still something about my parents wanting to pursue a relationship with me. So I'd have you guys listening, like, how do you feel about your dad? How do you feel about your mom? Do you want to know that they're thinking about you, pursuing you, versus connect? Because, like, if I could call my mom and I'm like, hey, or my dad, and I'm like, hey, you haven't called me in a month. And they're like, well, you could have called me, it's like, that makes me feel kind of like a crappy, unwanted kid. Right. Sure. And so I think if we could take that same realization with our own kids and go, hey, they were designed to be pursued, loved by us. So, okay. So I love the committed to connection. And then the other thing with teenage daughters, I'll give a thought and then you give me your feedback on this. Girls want to be listened to and they don't want solutions. So this idea of, like, can I be the most listening man? There's got to be a better sentence for it. But when my daughter thinks, if I got something to say, I need somebody to talk to, who's the one man on this planet who will listen to everything I say without tapping his fingers or rolling his eyes? Like, you and I got to be those guys for our daughters, right? Like, I don't want some 16-year-old knucklehead being the kid who was like, yeah, I'll listen to you. Your thoughts on that listening aspect?
Absolutely. And it's something that we struggle with as men, just because of our wiring. We are inherently praised for solving problems. I mean, in business, even in brother relationships, our friends, our buddies, were like, they come and share something and then they're expecting something back. And if we were just be like, I'm just going to listen to you, and we don't offer up anything, they'd be like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, you're not adding value to me, and I'm going to go to someone else that actually can break this down and give me some solutions, right? So we're used to that MO. And then when it comes to our daughters, it's a completely different game, but we don't many times recognize, and we just automatically jump into that. And I think it doesn't create a safe space, and that's what you're talking about. How does my daughter have a safe space to come to me and share things? What is safe? Well, it's non-judgmental. It's not trying to fix it. It's reframing from your perspective on it until asked. And those are, like, really hard things to do, one, as a father, because we feel it's our job and our duty to raise you in such a way. So we need to give you input. Like, if I hear something that's, like, off, I'm going to say something. Like, that's irresponsible not to say something. However, we have to learn how to balance the irresponsibility to the fact that they just need to be heard first.
Right.
And then how do we delicately enter back into, we're not abdicating our responsibility to not speak into things that we see, hey, that's a little off, or that could be dangerous, or that could be not good. But if we're always volunteering that up right out the gate, then we become that not the safe space. That I'm not going to talk to that because he's just going to fix it. And he's just going to tell me what I should be doing, or what the Bible says, or whatever the thing is that's well-meaning, but not safe. So I think dads with girls, it's a tricky balance that we have to learn to forcefully, like, when I've coached some men, girl dads, I say, do a trigger, like, do this. Like, literally, like, put your finger over your mouth and just remind yourself, this is a time for me to shut up and just listen. Because if not, we're just going to knee jerk. Hey, you know what you should do? Hey, the Bible says, or this, I help me for this. And I'm like, I don't want that, Dad, right now anyway. Is this a place where I can share? You want me to share my thoughts on this, or do you want me just to listen? Right? Little things where they're like, I get both. Sometimes they're like, yeah, just listen. I'm like, okay, I'll just listen. Or sometimes after they're like, okay, I'm ready for your thoughts. What are they? Oh, cool. and I can share.
Yeah, and I wonder, and I know this is going to be a stupid, obviously this is true, but if we didn't give the feedback or a solution and we just listened, it's like they know we have an opinion.
Mm.
So they'll ask us if they want it. And so maybe just giving them the
Mhm.
freedom to ask, because then if they ask, it's like game on, right? Like, and they're probably going to do something with it if they ask versus me shoving it down their throats. Another just thought, like something is with the constant changing, is like finding space dads where you can meet your kids like where they're at. So like for example, one of my daughters, she has to leave the house for like early morning sports, 6:10. So it's like I make
Mhm.
sure I'm downstairs in the kitchen out of my office at 5:50, make her some food, help get her food packed up, and just that like that 10-minute window just to connect and be
Mhm.
there. Last night, that daughter in particular was getting home late from work. I really wanted to go to bed, but I just sat down at the kitchen table till I knew she came home so I could have that 5 minutes of connection before she went. So any thoughts on that of like adjusting your own agenda? I mean, shoot, right now I even work out at 1:30 because that's when my other daughter works out, just so we could be at the home
Mhm.
gym together. So it's like, can you shift your schedule around to be able to just be where they're at?
Be where they're at. So the thing that comes to mind is committed to
There you
connection.
go.
You're
Yeah,
committed,
love it.
right? If you're not committed, I gotta go to bed, or
Mhm.
the office took me away and I couldn't be down there. But if you're committed, you'll make sure you're there at
Mhm.
5:50 or whatever. So one, it starts with the commitment, but then secondly, being around, kind of weaving your way into. I think of when we think about like courtship or marriage or different things, like you found creative ways. You knew she was going to be around there, and you find ways to be around
Yeah,
so then
right?
you could cross, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's
We're not
it's
dummies.
the same,
Yeah.
right? We know how to do that when we're pursuing our
Ah.
future spouse.
Yep.
But as it comes to our daughters, we just take it for granted. Oh, they're always
Mhm.
going to be there. Like, well, how
Yeah.
are you pursuing your daughters in a way that's creative and intentional, in the way that you're going to see them? Hey, I know they're going to cross paths here. They're going to work out there this time. I'm going to clear my schedule here so I can make sure that it doesn't just happen. If it did, that's amazing, but never. It never just happens that, oh, I happen to be wanting to work out at 1:30 and my schedule's
Mm.
clear. Like, that's not going to happen unless you're intentional.
Yeah.
So you're committed to connection, right? And intentional with pursuing.
Oh, so this last thought that just came to mind is, okay, I'm committed to connection. We can only have so many commitments, just the reality of
True.
energy and time. So I guess I would challenge you guys, if this matters to you, which you're here, so we know it does, what are you committed to? Like if you were to pause and just write down what you're committed to, where are you spending your time and where are you spending your money? That's going to tell you actually what you're committed to. And if there's some misalignment, then pause and reassess. Like you can decide how you spend your time. So reassess what you want your commitments to be. Any thoughts on that before I hit you with my next question?
You're absolutely right. And you actually, man, if you're doing this, you can just look at your life and it's going to tell you what you're committed to.
Mhm.
So you can say what you want to be committed to, but your life's going to tell you exactly what you're committed to. And so you say, I'm committed to fitness. And then your weight reflects something you're not really committed. You
Mhm.
say you are, but you're not
Mhm.
committed to it. You could say you're committed to whatever, but your life is speaking what you're committed to. And so that, yes, it's an auditing of what your current
Mhm.
situation is on all of these fronts. And secondly, what does true commitment look like, to alter that and be able to step into the commitments you really desire to do it. Obviously, that's where like coaching can help,
Yeah.
or masterminds, different things that can help you stay accountable. Because the reality is, left to our own devices, we're gonna do what we're gonna do and we're comfortable with, or what we're used to, what our routines are. So recommitting to things is one thing, and then follow through and consistency is another thing. So I do agree that we are committed to things regardless, and we can only commit to so many things.
Mhm.
And so there's also, in that commitment, there's going to be a sacrifice. Okay, if I'm committed to sleep, but my daughter's going to be here and I got to wait up for her, well, I'm sacrificing a little bit here. But where are
Mhm.
you willing to sacrifice and where you would commit? Because you could say, hey, I'm really committed to sleep. So as much as I'm committed to my connection with my daughter, sleep is more important in this season. Okay, it's not neither good or bad necessarily. Commitments are good. It's just a matter of you have to choose and see where you give your time to, your energy, and your resources in this season. I think that's an important thing. I think all of us struggle with feeling like we have to be everything to everyone all the time, and it's just unrealistic.
Man, so good. So a couple takeaways for you guys. One, audit your life, do it more than once a year. Take a reflection of like how you're spending your time, what you're committed to. And then again, it's might sound silly, but it's like you could go get coaching on your fatherhood. It's like you look at the very best athletes in the world, they have
That's right.
coaches, right? Like it doesn't matter if I'm the best pitcher, I have a pitching coach. So it's like, somebody like a
Yep.
Russell, or there's other fatherhood coaches out there that it's like,
Yeah.
let me just wrestle through really one of the most important things you're going to do on this planet. Why not invest in that? Whether it's this podcast, a coach, a book, multiple things, mastermind, there's so many options out there. Russell, with that in mind, let's just take a little pause here and go, you dropped it. What's your website? What is it that you do around fatherhood? We connected over your father-daughter dance, which I'm so excited about for next year. Give us a little bit of what you do for fathers.
Yeah, Fathers with Daughters, FWD, is the movement that God's placed on my heart for fathers with daughters, obviously, because I have 3 girls. And it's a way to help equip, inspire girl dads to radiant, confident, strong young women.
Mm.
And it's something that doesn't come naturally for us a lot of times. And I noticed that when I started to do these events, so I do a father-daughter prom, is what you referenced. And we had our 4th annual father-daughter prom this past June at the Hawaii Convention Center. We had 350 dads and daughters come down the red carpet, and we had Vitals playing music at concert. We had photo booth, DJ, dancing, daddy-daughter moments, all these kind of things. And I noticed that, man, dads are longing. Like we said, we're busy. So what are you committed to? Well, they are committed. I believe every dad is wanting to and desiring to be committed to their daughter, but I recognize that we get busy or we don't have the bandwidth to plan something. Like, I can't plan a beautiful picnic with my daughter. I get that. Like, we're busy. So my heart was, if I can start to create and provide opportunities, easy button for dads to just show up for their daughters, I started to do that. And then God led me into like, well, it's not just about events. It's going to be deeper than just events, because that's the starting point. But it can't just be just like you take your wife out on a date on Valentine's Day and anniversary and you think that's going to carry you through the whole year.
Right.
That's not going to be. So I started, into coaching and masterminds and community. This is kind of birthed out of helping first and foremost myself to be a better dad, because God knows when I'm on these calls and I'm coaching men or we're in the masterminds or different things, I'm applying and reflecting and evaluating where I can be better or where I failed or where the things I can do better because I'm walking with these other men. So ultimately it's a selfish motivated. I want to be the best dad I possibly can be. And by doing this, it allows me to work on myself to be a better dad, but also I just have a heart to support. And, I think one of my life's calling is to help people rise into their highest and best, whatever God's called them to. And I just so happen to be in the fatherhood lane, happen to be in the girl dad lane. And so that's just where I land in the gifts and skills that I've been given to do that. So I'm just passionate about fathers with daughters and helping them succeed and helping their daughters become strong, because I believe the next generation could be changed because of the presence of the father in the home. It's pretty clear that when you have present fathers, the statistics are amazing. And when you don't, it's pretty devastating of what happens when girls don't have their fathers in their life.
Yeah. So good. So where could people learn more about this? What's your Instagram? What's your website?
Yeah, Instagram is fathers_with_daughters. On Instagram is the best way to find us. And then our website's fatherswithdaughters.com. And so it will shoot you to our website, and it gives you a little bit more information about what we do in terms of events. Obviously, we're in Hawaii, so there are a lot of local events that we're doing. We have an upcoming Pizza and Praise Night in December where we're going to go out to the North Shore and have dads and daughters have pizza, and then we're going to have them worship together. So we're doing that in December. But we have all kinds of different events that come up, and then we're opening up the mastermind, just a few select men who want to go deep and who want to step into more intentional fatherhood with accountability, brotherhood, and just some curriculum that we walk through, a 90-day curriculum. So it's cool. It's a great space. And then obviously I do one-on-one coaching. So those are the main 3 things that I do with experiences, coaching, and masterminds currently to serve this niche of fathers with daughters, because it's a unique thing that I feel like I understand, and I'm still growing, and I'm trying to learn with other men alongside me.
Yeah, dude, super cool. When did you embrace fatherhood? So if you can go back to 17 years ago, it's like, I feel like there's a few moments. It's okay, we're married or we're together, we're pregnant, you're going to be a dad. Oh my goodness. Okay, the baby comes. Oh my goodness. Sometimes when the guy first has the baby, it's like, I don't know what to do. And then sometimes it's not until they're 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, at what point for you were you like, oh my goodness, being a father matters so much, I really want to lean into this? When was that?
The crazy thing is, I actually knew long before that. I knew even before I was married, even before I was dating, I knew I wanted to have kids. I knew that that was going to be a major part of my life that I'm just looking forward to. And it could be that I always loved kids. So I had a background in doing, it's called Kama'aina Kids. And so I would help with after school programs. And then in college, I worked at a preschool, and I did a bunch of things with kids all the time. Or like when my friends who are a little bit older than me who would have kids and to be around and like, hey, I was just drawn to them and they were drawn to me, the kids were. And so I love that interaction with kids. And at one point I realized someday I think I'm gonna have my own kids. Like, what more is this experience and
Mm,
this desire to be with these kids when it's my own flesh and blood, it's my actual kids? Like, I couldn't wait. Like, I was
mm,
just so excited to be a father when I wasn't even dating anyone. I just knew deep down, like, I can't wait to be a father. And people would say, "Oh, you're gonna be a great father." Like when I play with the kids or did different things, just because I had a knack of how to interact with kids. But knowing that my ultimate goal, and I have a coaching heart and desire,
mhm.
obviously I'm doing coaching, but I've always wanted to coach in I thought it was going to be in sports. I thought I was going to coach different sports, but I always had this coaching heart, and part of parenting is coaching. Now,
Yeah.
obviously there's certain seasons where you're not as much of a coach, but now I'm definitely in that season where I'm coaching my girls in their life and what they're doing. So I think there was also that developmental, I just want you to be in your highest and best. And I'm like, man, that's what I was created to do. What better when your own kids and you have them? And so I feel like it started a long time ago, but definitely when we had our first kid and I held Ava Joy in my arms, I just knew I
Mm.
fell in love. I was so excited. I was also scared. I don't want to mess this
Yeah,
up,
yeah,
but I also knew like,
yeah.
hey, it's okay. I'm gonna lean in and we're gonna do this.
Mm. So maybe a strange question and maybe there's nothing there, but is there a time at any stage where you felt like maybe it was harder or you had to overcome because life is messy.
Hmm.
So was there anything that comes to mind of a space where it was like, man, this is hard, I need to figure some things out for myself so that I can overcome and be the best father I want to be?
Yeah, in fatherhood, it's always a challenge. I would say transparently, the biggest challenge I found was being on the same page with my
Mm-hmm.
wife as my daughter's transition from dependence to independence.
Mm,
So when they were more dependent and we had the stronger voice, I mean, they kind of did what we said for the most part
yeah.
and they kind of followed along and they did that. That was not easy, but it was good. And as they developed into having their own voice, as they developed into testing their own independence
Mm-hmm.
and their own things, the challenge was how much space do I give? And my wife and I are kind of different on that. So that was probably challenging in the sense of like I wanted to kind of open up and give them more space and to fly. And my wife was dealing with how to release that. And
Mm.
so I'm trying to honor my wife, but also trying to honor my daughter's desires to grow and be independent. And that was probably the biggest tension of trying to allow my daughters to grow, but also honor my wife in having her slowly learn how to release the independence season.
Interesting. Okay, great answer and interesting because so similarly, but on the flip, like my wife, so I was just giving a very practical
Hmm.
example. Is like when they get a cell phone. In my mind, I'm like, yo, I would just rather no social media, no phone, nothing
Sure.
until they're like 22 and whatever, right?
Yeah,
Just,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and my wife's argument is more like, hey, I want them to fail and not fail, but you get it. I want them to stumble through things while they're here,
While we're here. Hmm.
dating, this, that,
Yep.
and the other. So there's certain things where I'm like, let's teach them to drive when they're 10. But then there's
Right.
things, where I'm like, no, I don't really want
Yep.
them to date yet. And so my wife has been really good about that to want to give them more leeway so that it gives them space to wrestle through the things that work and don't work and that we have a voice in it now because it's like we're not going to have a voice in it when they're 22 but we
Right.
do to some level now when they're 15 years old. So and I think that's why God, puts us with this opposite person, which can be
Agreed.
so frustrating.
Agreed.
And they would say the same thing. But that's the point, right? Is this
Hmm.
wrestling through. And I think sometimes, and maybe give your opinion, I think sometimes the kids are here really for our own sanctification, for our own growing,
Oh,
than it is for
oh
like
yeah.
us to like teach them to be perfect humans. Cause
Right.
like this hit me recently with one of my daughters. I'm like, I'm really not that far ahead of you. Like, okay, I'm 42 and you're 18, 19. Like, I don't have 100 years on you. I've got 20. And the world changes so fast. So, it's only a little bit more experience I have. Anyways, great share. Any thoughts that come up before I go to the next question?
Just to your point, I absolutely agree. It's not this positional authority where, yeah, I got it all together and you're going to listen to me. It's the relational influence that we build
Hmm.
through how do we learn and grow? Because I believe that if we want them to grow, we need to be growing. And
For
I'm
sure.
constantly learning. And that sanctification piece is 100%. I'm opening myself up to my girls when I say certain things, and
Mm.
I invite them to call me out on it, and sometimes they will, and I'm like, ugh. I have the choice in that moment to either I'm the dad, or yeah, you're right, and humble myself, but then I'm growing, then I'm better
Yeah.
because if I want to set standards and I don't meet those standards, you have a right to call me out on it.
Yeah.
But then that helps me grow, become sanctified, like be better. Versus, I think if dads don't have that ability to open themselves up to that, which I get is hard, we don't grow. We just kind of stay in this, well, I'm the father and you can't call me on that. Like I can call you on that, but
Right.
don't touch, me, this glass house. And it becomes less of growth and less sanctification and more just stuck in our ways.
Hmm. And the opportunity for a deep connection, if that's what we're committed to, is really limited because people connect over over the wrestling of life, right? I mean,
Hmm.
they connect over vulnerability, realness,
Correct.
rawness, etc. It's like
Yep.
you go to a church and the pastor is perfect. You don't connect with him as
Yeah.
much as when he is on stage and he's like, "Man, I got in a fight with my wife yesterday," or whatever. All of
Right.
a sudden, you're like, "Oh, I could relate to this guy. I'm willing to open
Hmm.
up to this guy. I'm willing to be open and honest about myself because they are with me." In your opinion, if you just met this, young guy, new dad, you're in an elevator, you've got a minute to tell him what the role of the father is. What would you tell him the role of the father is?
Whew, man, the role of a father. Gosh, I don't know how I'd put it in one sentence, but I would encourage
Mm.
him that you have a unique role as a father. You have a voice that only you can speak into them. And so your role is to be as intentional with that voice as possible to ensure that your daughters or your kids understand who they are in ultimately in Christ, but understand that you are shaping identity. And so you have a role in that and
Mhm.
you have a responsibility to in everything, not just your words, but in your actions with the way that you treat your spouse and the way that you manage your time, your money, all of the things. Like the role of the father is critical to their development and to their identity formation. And we can't take it lightly. But at the same time, you're also positioned in the most beautiful place to enjoy one of the greatest gifts I
Mhm.
believe God's given us. And that being a father isn't just this heavy responsibility to help the formation of their identity, but you also get to raise this little human being who will also be able to interact with you in ways that you never understood
Mm.
love
Yeah.
until you get to see it. So I think it's like this beautiful picture of what God's allowed us to step into. And so I would encourage him, like, hey, you're in for a ride of your life in both good ways and challenging ways, but there's nothing more beautiful than being a parent. And I'm excited for you to step into that role, to take the responsibility seriously, but also to enjoy it because I don't think that we should just I have this strong responsibility and I can't enjoy it. Like
Mm.
I think God allows us to enjoy the fatherhood position and the relationship, but also don't neglect the responsibility, the heavy responsibility we have to intentionally raise kids who are going to contribute to the world and ultimately to the kingdom in a
Mm.
productive way, in a healthy way that's beyond themselves.
Dude, I love it. I love it. So many things you said. It's okay. You could probably just write a book on, that 2 minutes you just shared. You could put it all in a book and it still wouldn't hold it all. Couple of nuggets and then a reflection. I do love how you tied the impact of the kingdom, right? I just feel so strongly like the family is the micro unit of the kingdom of God. Like we have this ability to be a part of something far bigger than ourselves, and the kingdom is here and now, and we get to be love, which most people don't even know what love means. Go read First
Right.
Corinthians 13. Love is a lot more freaking work than I
Yeah, yeah.
feel good, like you make me feel good.
Right.
That's not really what love is. But what I loved, I think, overall about your response was the like deep pause to go, oh my gosh, I only have a minute to share this. What it kind of made me think, or what I saw, is I kind of saw you in an elevator and you put your hand on this kid's shoulder and you're like, hey, dude, why don't you come to my office once a week for a year and we'll start to
Right.
unpack the reality of your opportunity. It's like
Yeah.
asking, what's the meaning of life, or how do I love a woman? You know what I mean? It's
Right.
it's like we are so into quick nuggets. Like, let me just have a nugget to just kind of
Right.
get through, do my best, and move on. And we're just moving so fast that a lot of times we're missing the like, oof, buddy, let's just sit for an hour on this one sentence, this one thought, this one, I kind of love the like pause and deep thought into your head to just, okay, I got a minute. Let me try and find it. And you gave us like 2 minutes without taking a breath. So good
Okay.
job. Yeah, it's deep, right? I mean,
It
this is
is.
serious stuff. And
Yeah.
it's good. It's beautiful. It's
Mhm.
it's meaningful. Sometimes I like to think about myself like looking at my own reflection as like an old man, like 85, 90, right? So imagine you and I are standing in front of a mirror, 85, 90 years old. What am I going to look in my own eyes and be like, I'm proud of you, Ned? Like, I'm proud of myself. I mean, it's going to be, what's my connection with who I am, who God is, who my wife is, who my kids are. And the thing is that feeling when we're 85, 90, that feeling of staring into our own eyes is determined on how I show up yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We're the only ones who have the ability to kind of determine what that guy feels. Let's get to work. Okay, question for you, and you can answer however you want or decline. What's your relationship with your dad? Thinking back to being a teenager, let's say, what's something that you really appreciated about your dad, and what's something that you wished he would have done differently? And I asked the question for this, not because you would change it, but because it's determining how you're showing up.
Yeah. My dad was a quiet servant. I tell him when we do memories and different things, I remember he was such a support for me in all this. I played soccer and baseball growing up, and he would take me to all my games. He would pick me up from practice. When we had a soccer game and it was muddy, he would wash my shoes, put newspaper in them, have them ready to go. Like, he would just serve me. He would have my whole schedule on there, win, loss, score. Like, he'd just track everything, right? My dad was just a great, quiet servant in the sense where he wasn't the rah-rah, loud. He was more in the backgrounds, but I appreciate that. I appreciate how he just loved through service. It is, and he still to this day does that. Now he's serving my kids and, my mom and different people. He just does stuff that are intentional and small ways that he shows quiet strength and serving. So I would say my dad is a legend for that. And I remember little things too. He would remind me to thank my coach after practice. So, did you thank your coach? Because they're doing it for volunteer or whatever. So I would always go back to the coach after every practice, soccer, baseball. Hey, thanks, coach. Just little things. But that was just his way of recognizing and helping me realize they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart. They're not doing this because they're getting paid all this money. And so little things like that, like, imprint in my mind. My dad, again, but I pair that with quiet strength. He didn't speak a lot. I don't feel like my dad was very vulnerable or open with me when I was growing up. He was more the quiet one in the background. So my mother was the more one who would share, almost lead at times. And so I would say, looking back, I stepped into a leadership role in our family fairly early just because my dad he was there for sure. We just had a conversation on Tuesday, and on his wallet, he has this little thing that he wrote of, Lord, show me how I might serve people there, or something. I was like, Dad,
that's
what,
cool.
what? Like, I'm like, Dad, you're living your best life now. Like, he just loves Lord. He's serving them, but if I were to reflect back, when I'm 10 or 15 or whenever you told me to look back, like, that wasn't the case. It's all God's plan. But I think that answers probably both sides of the coin of what you're asking there.
Man, thank you so much for sharing. I love learning from that. And then it's just this reminder that, like, our daughters, my son, will one day be 43, and they're going to have an opinion of you and I. And it's determined on how we show up today. And it doesn't mean we're going to be perfect. Definitely not. I think the imperfections are also really valuable to their own sanctification, right? Like, God gave our kids, you and me, for reasons, their own growth, right? And man, I think that maybe just gives me a little bit of freedom that even when I miss the mark at times, it's an opportunity for my growth and their growth, right? Because I can't be everything to them. And I think especially as, like, Christian fathers. Okay, so here's a question for you. As Christian fathers, I think a big part of our role is to, like, lead our kids to, hey, I am not your source of life, essentially. So with that in mind, if you were to think about your daughters at, like, say you're at their wedding and you're kind of passing them to this next season of life, or they're moving out of your house, whatever, how do you want to pass your faith to your kids? And it's kind of a weird time we're living in, because it's like, what's your truth? What's your relationship with God? What's this? So when you think about the key components of your faith that you want to instill into your kids, what is that? What does that look like?
I mean, my answer is I want to walk with you right through this all. However, if I had to just leave you with something, right, my daughters, I think, because even that phrase, passing on my faith, it's their faith, right? They're owning their faith. I want to give you guidance of what God has showed me and my responsibility
Mm-hmm.
to that. But similarly, there is a flavor and there is a uniqueness to their own faith that's going to look different. And I can't force this on you to say this is what it needs to look like for you per se. Now, I get that the relativism of your faith, my faith,
Right, right.
and your truth, my truth, but really allowing them the freedom to pursue Jesus and hear from the Lord from their standpoint, but recognize that's a value and that is important and that's a bedrock or foundation that I hope and pray that you take with you into your marriage, into your next season of development, of knowing that this is a foundational thing that I pray God allows to take root into your heart as you step into the challenges, the good, the bad, the relationships, all the other things that they're going to face that hopefully we talk about in the coaching we do or in the masterminds or the calls that more is caught than taught.
Mm-hmm.
And we can teach all we want
Right.
on the Bible and on all stuff, but hopefully my life has spoke to them in different ways of what kingdom, what Jesus, what generosity, what things
Mm.
look like, what sacrifice looks like, so that they hopefully put language when they're out on their own. They're like, oh, that's what either dad or Jesus meant by generosity
Mm-hmm.
or sacrifice or commitment or love or purpose or meaning or calling, like all these things that are so deep and important that can't be fully found in a Bible study. They can
Yeah.
be, but
Yeah, that's
you
really
can't
good.
just tell them you have to do these things. They're going to experience the
Hmm.
opportunity for these things. And so it's less of passing on this curriculum and this thing, hey, this is how you're going to live into your next season. And I hope that you follow these rules because that's religion,
Right.
right? It's allowing them to really wrestle with what does that mean for a generosity and sacrifice? What does it mean to really live in the kingdom of what Jesus has for
Hmm.
us? Because it's probably a lot different than some Bible studies potentially look like in terms of the doctrine that you need to follow versus the life you need to live within what Jesus says. And again, it's very broad and wide,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I hope that my girls have a sense of freedom, yet responsibility in that freedom of what Christ calls them to do. Because I believe that as I'm kind of forming this call that I'm
Mm-hmm.
only now really kind of understanding to help people live in their highest and best, to me, that looks like kind of that talents is like looking
Mm-hmm.
what God's gifted you
Yep.
with and being very responsible with those giftings. And that's for the purpose of one, expanding God's kingdom or bringing God's kingdom, bringing the way that Christ lived and loved and sacrificed. And that's being responsible with your giftings
Mm.
in terms of you're bringing that to whatever you're doing, whether it's your work, your relationship with your new spouse, with your kids, with all the things that you're doing. But we have a responsibility and the flavor is going to look different
Yeah.
for everyone. So it's not like I don't have a program to help you live this way. It's your highest and best because each person is going to be different. Each kid's going to be different. Each scenario is going to be different, which is more messy.
Mm.
It's
Yeah,
easy
it's
to
messy.
scale.
Mm-hmm.
If I tell you, hey, I can scale this thing and I'll tell you exactly how you're going to live,
Right.
it's great to programatize something and tell you this is your best life now, but it is messy and it is life on life. Like you said, I'm going to meet with you once a week and we're going
Yeah.
to do that. But that's what parenting is. And that's hopefully what my girls hopefully have caught of the way I live. They say, hey, I don't understand everything, but I kind of picked up how Jesus was in dad's life and
Mm.
what that effectively when he stopped for that person or when he
Hmm.
did this or he was more about this than that, they hopefully frame that into the context of the gospel and they frame that into the context of the biblical truths that they've heard through Bible study and being in youth group and doing all these things, because there's all kinds of messages that come through for them. And that's okay. But unfortunately, sometimes it's packaged so nicely
Mm-hmm.
that it doesn't even fit into their real life when they go out there. That's one of the challenges. So either people throw it out, oh, this doesn't fit me, this isn't
Mm-hmm.
for me, but I'm not going to throw Jesus out with everything. I'm going to figure out how I continue to live within what Christ has called me to do and what I've seen modeled in my family and go from there, because it's going to be a dialogue and God willing, it's not going to be I'm launching you and we'll never talk to you again. It's
Mm-hmm.
this ongoing relationship. However, it is different when you're living on your own. It is different when you're not under my roof and we're in the same home together.
Russell, I could tell we're going to be good friends. I love it. I mean, there's several things I would pull out of this, but I think the thing that I would love for dads to walk away with, I mean, you clearly have a healthy relationship with your faith. It is not the tight package of like, okay, church here, and then I have my life over here. It is messily integrated, which is what I'm hearing. And you're talking kingdom, not religion. You're talking life, not let's just make sure my kids get to heaven kind of thing. And so clearly you've you've clearly wrestled through this enough. And I think some dads, they've grown up in the church. They want to make sure their kids are going to church. They want to make sure they're at youth group. They may not have wrestled through this to the same degree, but I think this is, dads, what I would want you to walk away from this. And then Russell, you can give me your feedback on this. As Russell's sharing this, there isn't a fear. There isn't a fear that, oh my gosh, I need my kid to say a prayer so that then I can have peace that they're going to go to heaven. That is one way to look at Christianity, which is really just kind of sad and boring and not really what Jesus is all about. Then there's this other thing that Russell's talking about that is like, this is a messy relationship. There's a kingdom. There's things happening. There are things moving. It's about here and now. Who are we here and now? What are we doing here and now to be a part? And here's the words that I think really stuck out is, you went into sacrifice. You went into generosity. You went into service. These are all action items, opportunities for us to do now, here. Not a make sure I was at church on time, make sure I took communion right, make sure I was baptized the right way. There's none of that. And so I would love for dads to let go of something you have no control of, this fear, and look at your opportunity that God has placed you in the lives of your kids to be a part of their story and them to be a part of yours. So I love it, dude. No fear in your response, and action items for here and now, not someday. Pretty beautiful stuff, bro.
That's beautiful. And I would say, as you're talking, I'm realizing that we've talked about these words, that life is messy, right? It's intentional, it's sacrifice, it's work. And I'm not throwing shade on anyone, but I think that unfortunately, and this, you could call it the devil is the enemy's tactics or whatever, but I just think human nature and the way that we are wired for maybe survival or comfort or the different things, we opt for the easier, we opt for the system, we opt for the thing that's not as messy. And then what it does is it leads into fear, because we're relying on the system to take care of the thing that actually is not meant for a system, but it can potentially produce behavior modification to some degree. It potentially can produce certain things that are like, hey, I don't have to think about this. I'm just going to pass it off to the system and the thing that it's lazy parenting, right? You're not committed to connection. You're committed to the easy way because I got other things I got to do, and or I'm just looking for the easiest path forward. And I'm just going to take what people are telling me and I'm just going to plug that in. And it's messy to actually ask questions. It's messy to actually lean in and be intentional and commit to connection and do different things. And so unfortunately, as business people, we understand like the way you solve a problem is you attack the thing that people are most looking for. And they want simple, they want easy, they want, so we're going to provide solutions that will serve that. Unfortunately, I feel like that's happened in many different circles and even maybe the church a little bit. And so if the church caters to easy and convenience and comfort, then the parents can start to feel like you said, I checked the box, they said a prayer, we did this correctly, and we can move on. And I don't have to worry about you not going to heaven. So we're good. And we move on to the next thing, when it's like, it's actually a lot messier than that in terms of a full life walked with Christ is not just a prayer. It's not just an attendance. It's not just a thing. It's actually a living, breathing, messy organism of life that takes leadership. It takes intentionality, it takes vulnerability, it takes work. But it's so much easier to just be like, hey, make sure these three things happen. You say the prayer, you got baptized, and you're actually in church every week. At least I've done my duty. I can move on to the other stuff. And that's not messy and it's not hard. It's easier. But it's not rich, it's not fulfilling, and it's not, to me, how Christ calls us to live and wants us to live, because I believe that's not a fulfilled life either. Like, I believe the messy is where we find the meaning, and we just are able to do it, but it's hard, and we default because we're busy. We got a lot on our shoulders. Man, like, it's heavy. The weight we carry from a financial burden to just being able to provide all these things, it's a lot. So, like, if I can at least easy button this part, I'm going to do that. But I don't think we're created. So when I have conversations with you and how you've designed your life and how you're intentionally like locking off different things and prioritizing what really matters, I'm like, yeah, that's hard. It's messy. It has sacrifice. It's not going to be what everyone else is doing. And you need to be okay with that. But then you're going to live the most fulfilled life that Christ has called you to, rather than trying to like find that thing that everyone is searching for. Well, I found the right formula. There's no formula. I mean, there are certain things guidelines that you can kind of try to, but there's no formula, right?
Yeah, I love it. A couple of things that come to mind is when you say fulfilled, I love the word. I don't want people to confuse that with perfection. Fulfilled is
Sure.
messy. Fulfilled is messy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is like, as dads, can we be more concerned or committed to our own and our kids' heart and character transformation than behavior modification? Like you kind of talked about that. Now, with that, obviously, there's still like fruits of the spirit. Like, am I
Of
seeing
course.
love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness,
Uh-huh.
faithfulness, and self control all progressing? But again, those
Uh-huh.
things progress only in tension. Like self control only grows in tension, patience
Right.
only grows in tension.
Correct.
So, behavior modification does not. It's not what we're looking for here, but can we give
Mm-hmm.
ourselves some grace and can we give our kids some grace and be more looking at a long game of character heart development? This isn't going to happen in the 18 years there in your house, and you don't have to feel like it has to
Mm-mm.
have happened in your 40 or 50 years of life already. This podcast is Fatherhood Field Notes. You're doing it, opening up your field notes, sharing your life, your wisdom with us. The theme behind it is rebel and create. This idea, like as men, we want to fight for something, fight it. We want to rebel, but not just to be destructive. We want to create something in its place. So for you, when you hear rebel and create, what's something small or big that you're rebelling against, and what do you hope to create in its place?
Yeah, maybe because it's just fresh of what we talked
Mm-hmm.
about, but it might be that very concept that we're talking about right now is rebelling against fill in the blank, the status quo, the box, the easy button, the structure that produces not life, it just produces like behavior modification. It produces machines. It produces things that are not messy and alive and fulfilling. So maybe pushing against the systems or maybe pushing against or towards. So maybe
Mm,
providing the things an option, right? Like fatherhood is hard and you don't have to just know everything, but if you don't have an option, you're going to fall into whatever has been before and
mm-hmm,
whatever's out there. And if it's only just the cookie cutter, this is fatherhood thing, you're going to do that and you're going to get okay results. And, by God's grace, it's going to be okay. But what would it look like to dive in and be messy and really transform the way that we do fatherhood? And so I guess it's rebelling against the way that fatherhood can be. I'm not saying everyone's this way, but it can sometimes fall into and really push to excellence, highest and best, like we talked about.
mm,
For every man that's willing to engage that, I believe the daughters or the kids, but in my case, the daughters are going to have the best opportunity to become those alive, creatures, people that God's created them to be because we didn't settle, right? I've
mm,
told this to my oldest daughter and she knows this, but I was like, one of the things I hope that you hear in your mind, I've tried to live this, but don't settle.
mm,
And that relates to anything, whether that's the boys or men in your life to what your life is going to look like from a career purpose. Don't settle. I said, you're different and you know that, and that's okay. Don't settle. Don't settle for the cookie cutter just because that's what everyone else says or does or has to do. And so like I'm rebelling against the settling, I guess. And the
mm-hmm,
settling can look many what we've talked about in different forms. And not settling is stepping into the unknown, the messy, the hard, the sacrifice, and all the things that are gonna require us to show up fully and be vulnerable and be potentially hurt and be potentially fail, but it's the best way forward. And so creating spaces, whether that's experiences, coaching, masterminds, or just opportunities to help fathers understand that there is a different way. And we're going to at least lean into that as much as we can through that.
love it. Love it. Okay, I'm going to hit you with a question I haven't asked before. And it came up the other day. I was hanging out with a girl dad and we were just talking fatherhood. So you're a girl dad. There are most likely, right? Your daughters are all three going to get married. So there are three men out there who you will serve as a father figure to at
Mm.
some point in the next 15 years, right? So it's like you've been a dad to daughters. That's what you know. But there are going to
Hmm.
be three men that show up in your life that are going to look to you in a way as a father figure. You're going to have the potential, right? There's a lot of like messiness when you think about like father-in-law, mother-in-law, whatever. But
Hmm.
if you can think today about that guy for you in the future, what kind of father-in-law, what kind of role, what kind of leader, what kind of servant do you want to be when you think about those men that will come into your life at some point?
It's going to be the same as I'm with my daughters. It's a support. It's a coach. It's someone that wants your highest and best. So non-judgmental, like we talked about, right? A safe space where it can be intimidating,
Yeah.
obviously, for men to come in and be like, oh, my father-in-law and this, and like, I'm afraid to like, what is he going to think of me? Or I have to live up to his standard or all those kind of things. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to bring those things down right off the bat and, allow them to, because I believe if he's trying to be me, then he's trying to be someone he's not, and he's not going
Mm-hmm.
to serve my daughter the best that he could. So I want to like allow him to live and walk into his full freedom of who God's created him to be, again, highest and best. And so I'm going to support him just like he's my own, because he becomes my own as he marries my daughter. Hey, bro, you're one of mine now,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of you're under my covering of my care, my heart, my hope, my coaching, everything I bring to the people that I love dearly. I want to bring that to you. And so whatever is mine is yours, my resources, my
Mm.
ability to come alongside you and have you thrive. Because obviously I want you guys to have a thriving marriage. I want
Yeah.
you to have a thriving world that you're living in, that you're serving with purpose and impact and fulfillment. And that's not going to come if he's just stepping on eggshells, feeling like I got to be the
Right.
perfect father or husband because this guy was like all into fatherhood and
Mm-hmm.
this kind of stuff. Like, no, no, no. I actually want you to take down those masks, and we're going to be real with each other. We're going to be able to walk, cry, love, lead together as you lead my daughter. And it's going to take some unique men, because some of my daughters are strong. And I'm like, he's going to have to lead well
Mm-hmm.
and be able to navigate how that works. But I guess it's less about having a son per se, or I have a son now and
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna it's more like, hey, we're in this together.
Mm-hmm.
I see it as a partnership. I'm a father, and I'm gonna help you guys live whatever best life God's called you to. And the best life is relative, right? Because what the best life is, you guys are sacrificed and you're living on the mission field. Is that your best life? If that is, great.
Yeah.
It might not look like the perfect suburban like lifestyle necessarily, but your best life is whatever you're called to and going after. I want to help them do that. So I'm excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
I love obviously equipping men, so it's not going to be weird like, oh, I only know daughters. Like, I obviously help men, so it's going to be one of those things of how to continue to serve them in a way that ultimately serves my
Yeah.
daughters.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, it's a little ways out, right? Like my oldest is 19, but I guess it's not that far potentially. Like I got married at
Hmm.
21. Do you have
Yep.
any thoughts around, and everybody's different, right? So like if I have two sons and I do a rite of passage for each of them, it could look one way for one and another way for another. But do you foresee thinking ahead, like when he comes to you and he's like, hey, I want to marry your daughter and like this thing's
Hmm.
happening, do you foresee like going on a hunt, going camping, going on like doing something one on one to start to cultivate a relationship that, again, I love what you said. I don't want you to be me, but I want to
Hmm.
have a relationship where we're mutually expanding the kingdom for this family, right? Like
Hmm.
we are united now in a way. So, you have any thoughts about what that would look like potentially?
Honestly, never been asked that, so I have to think through it a little bit more. But my hope would be, obviously, there's a relationship way prior
Hmm.
to him just coming. Because if he's just coming to me, then I'm like, bro, yeah, I don't even
I
know
don't
you
even
yet,
know
so I
you.
don't know how to
Yeah.
answer that question.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
Good.
obviously, there's relationship leading up to it. Now, I do get that if there is an official crossing of lines of you
Right.
now are
Right.
getting married, then it's like, okay, now there's a new, because I, not that I wouldn't invest in a guy that my daughter's,
But it's going to be
seriously
different.
involved
Yeah.
in, but it's gonna be different.
Hmm.
And once
Hmm.
you cross that line, now it's like, maybe we are meeting monthly if you're down for that, or
Right.
maybe I am guiding you through different things. I'm open to it. Let's see what that looks like. But there becomes a different level of commitment at that point and investment into this
Mm.
individual. So I think I treat it differently.
Okay, so your word right there is perfect. It lines up with everything you've talked about. You just said there's a different level of commitment. So as guys are thinking about this, right? You might have an 8-year-old or a 12-year-old. You're like, oh my gosh, I haven't even considered this. But I want us to not be surprised by the moments, right? I want men to kind of think ahead and have a bit of a game plan or an awareness that these things are going to happen. So are we
Uh-huh.
preparing for these things? So your statement was, I'm committed to this guy now, whatever that
Hmm.
may look like. So beautiful. Love
Right.
it. I want guys to think about that. All right, my friend.
Yeah.
Last question, legacy question. So fast forward, your daughters are all your age now. They're all like early 40s. They're kind of at the stage of life that you're at. Say you're standing in a cul-de-sac and you look into their homes. What do you see being played out that just puts a big old smile on your face, a tear in your eye, and you're like, ah, I showed up well.
Yeah, their family is in a healthy place where they're giving back. They have rich memories and experiences. They're living a life that's fulfilled, that's purposeful, and that they are living a life beyond themselves, but
Mm.
they are enjoying and reaping the benefits of that by service and basically living like Jesus, where they are not being about themselves, but they give and they are enjoying a rich life because of some of the foundation stuff that we've done and that we've continued to walk through together. And God willing, I'd be able to reap some of that in proximity of being
Mm,
around them or seeing it. But when I look into that window, I just see not a perfect family, but a real family
mhm,
that's connected, committed, all those things that we've talked about. And it's real, it's fulfilled, it's not fake, it's not cookie cutter, it's not whatever, but it's something that they have learned to live their highest and best for whatever God's called them to do specifically. And they found a partner that's supportive of that and their kids. And now it's being passed on into that next generation where their kids are starting to grab that, pick that up, and will continue. That's what legacy is. They continue on. So
mhm,
then, generations from now, you look into their window and you see kind of something different because it's going to be a different flavor. Everyone's going to be different, but hopefully there's a thread of some of this, if not a lot of the, things that we've talked about in terms of fulfillment and sacrifice and generosity and kingdom of what their life looks like.
Russell, beautiful. Man, I have so enjoyed our time together. I've enjoyed getting to know you better. I'm looking forward to getting to spend more time with you. Blessings, dude, to you, your marriage, your kids, all the work that you're doing to inspire men. Thank you. We need it. The world would look different and will look different as more men step into the reality of who God made them to be in their homes. And you are helping men to see that and then cultivate the skills and the awareness and the tools to be able to step into that. So, dude, keep doing what you're doing. Much love to you and your family, and I look forward to our paths crossing again soon.
Yes, sir.
And
Appreciate you.
until next time.
Hello.
Oh my guys, what an incredible conversation. I so enjoyed talking with Russell. There were so many components of really just coming together and talking about things that matter to us as men, as fathers, the opportunity. I think this continued realization around the messiness that we're not looking for perfection, that we are really committed to connection. This idea, like, are you and I committed to connection? I really encourage you to go sit down, put kind of this maybe a 1 to 10 scale rating. Where are you at with yourself? Where are you at with God? Where are you at with your marriage? Where are you at with your kids? And then what would it look like if you feel like you're at a 5 with your kids? What would it look like to be to a 7? You could even ask your kid. You could even ask your kid, but you know your family, you know your kids better than anyone. And if you feel like, ooh, Ned, I don't, well, then be committed to going and becoming a master student of your family. Be a student of your family. They need it. You need it. All right, my friends, write a review if you found this beneficial, helpful. I think I'm at like 75 reviews. It's been a while. Let's get to 100. That'd be great. Share this with a friend. Shoot a text to somebody. Hey, listen to this podcast. I think you'd enjoy it. You're a great dad. You've got girls, whatever. Shoot a text, share it. Fathers need to know they're being thought of and they want an opportunity to grow. So give that to them. All right. Thank you to all you dads out there listening to Fatherhood Field Notes podcast. What you do matters. Don't be like everybody else. Be yourself. That's who your kid, spouse, and community needs. This is your guide, Ned Shout. Together, let's rebel against the view that fatherhood has little impact and let's create lives engaged in mastering the craft of fatherhood. I look forward to hanging out with you next time.